So, greetings, everybody. One love. Get the pleasantries out the way, or however you say. I guess it is called pleasantries, right? Where there's a hello, there's a what's going on, what are you up to, what it is, what it be. So to kind of like blast it off for this rant, I'm just I like there's a part of me, there's a niche in me, an energetic niche or whatever, or a strand or whatever, where I am direct and blunt. And if people can't see that direct and bluntness, and they try to use that, however they try to use that, whatever they're trying to use, because human beings, as we enter us being into a human being, within the world, the way it's set up within the past dark yuga, people are very manipulative, as is, not targeting anybody, right? They're just, it just is what it is, right? People are very manipulative, generally saying that. So why would I say people are generally manipulative? Because so we could have a particular type of sharpened, keen awareness of how people could have their own unique, confined level of focus, and they could pick and choose and nitpick what to manipulate, right? So it's like, what are they manipulating, right? They're manipulating the exchanges of the messages, the wind of the messages. They're manipulating, the soul, the fire. They're manipulating, the emotions. They're trying to play on your emotions. And that's a big one. That's the whole emotion water field. That's like the whole threshold between a different heaven and a different earth. And then they're manipulating the earth and different objects and structures, right? So like, for some reason, like within the last 24 hours, I've been asking myself the question, what is magic and what is witchcraft? And for some reason, a month ago, when I asked that to myself, I was like, I had a very, concise answer to what it meant, like just a very fresh, intuitive answer to what that meant. And for some reason, I don't know if I wrote it down, and who knows how the brain could recall that, because the brain literally is like a living conscious computer, right? You're thinking of something, and as you're thinking of something, whether you want to be too graspy and angsty, that's when like you're trying to chase a cat. It's like when you're working and trying to recall a thought, your thoughts are kind of like cats too, right? You have to like chill with the cat, right? When you're asking a query to your brain, you have to let it like simmer in and download. And that's the same with people, right? You can't just be too angsty and graspy, but that's the thing with the shadow government, quote unquote, and the shadow, recipients of the old system and how they used to manipulate our old shadow government. They had a query on how they followed up and try to register for some type of, paperwork witchcraft, of how they're not letting it process and download and simmer in. And since they're not letting it process and download and simmer in, they're too angsty and graspy, and you're not letting the download come through, right? So since you're not letting the download come through in the background in their emotional shadow work or lack thereof, they're going to manipulate because they didn't know how to get the download, right? So since they didn't know how to get the download, now there is a particular niche context way, perhaps a case circumstance elongated of a particular niche context of manipulation, right? Because like, look at my resume, whether the shadows, whether shadow beings, particular niche shadow beings are aware or not, which they were not aware in a whole different context. And I'll get into that right as I go along. The whole sparking of some type of manipulation was based on, because they didn't know how to, quote unquote, balance with a download. What does that mean? Balance with a download. Your brain, regardless of the language, Espanol, English, Germany, French, whatever language, we all have a brain, and the language is the software. And within the language being the software, the brain has to compute and process based on its own organic consciousness and the field and the environment working with a language. And within that, we're always like downloading and trying to respond to something at the right. So within us doing that, we have to like kind of have like a field, energetics, original open source on a whole different level. That's literally energetically, and I'm reminding myself for a different balanced solution. There is something in the universe beyond this trademark and copyright system. Parentheses that, keep moving along. It's like the brain has to like be in a calm state, has to have a cerebral homeostasis for us to follow up on a thought, ask ourselves a question, self-inquiry, ancient Vedanta. And the people who are fucking around with non-duality and they go to it, they quit it, they forget it, they remember it, that's all subjective. And anybody could be susceptible to blemishing something in confusion, right? This is my shit is the purest like honesty. And that will fucking be the energetic wind fertilizer before any of the tech companies, any of the programs, any of the replicated AI, because my resume in the spiritual world is beyond this earth, right? But within that, I had a different download because I've been studying this shit like quality before 2014, right? So what does that mean? It's like I already knew the greed in 2015. I already knew the manipulation shadow tactics in 2015. Like I already knew all that. That was like basic shit. And for me to just watch and observe already doing the energetic working of me just watching and doing the observation and letting things play out how they did so things could unfold how they could unfold, that's a different type of work because within the quote unquote demonic realm here, no condescending, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm trying to, within the esoteric science of it, within the demonic field here, we aren't voting for or interacting or reciprocating with a different type of work, right? A different spiritual freedom type of work, which is ironic as fuck because that's the main thing we need. And there's other things I want to talk about here too. I've already like I've already kind of skimmed it through the undercurrent of blog posts and undercurrent of podcast of like how money is a middleman and money is an illusion and money isn't the end all. But we are convinced and we are focused and we've tricked ourselves to think that it is because we're hypnotized to think that this surface level world is all that there is. We're hypnotized to think that, the material world is like, and the material law is like the end all be all within how things are working. Yet things are always changing and circulating. Yet we're comfortable for a time being after we got our hoo-ha when we try to attack and sabotage someone and we try to rig someone based on their manipulation plot agenda and how they're trying to rig an old dying system, and they don't really recognize how the society's law system, how that has reached a point in obsoleteness and how it's getting transferred into a whole different spiritual realm. And I'm bringing that up because within the different types of paperwork, witchcraft, is people could file different complaints within the legislation of the old law system, such as false paperwork being filed based on how they're trying to how they're trying to compile it with a manipulation agenda. And they're thinking they could get away with that because they're not recognizing that there's a whole different quote unquote spiritual field that's recognizing the material shit, letting the material shit do what it is. It's like, God, why is like this happening for a time being, right? Why is this happening for a time being? But yet there's still in the future, there's infinite types of different transformations that happen. And within the different types of infinite transformations that happen, we are hypnotized to believe that the material world it has no spiritual influence within it. And for us to assume that it's a ghastly mistake. Why is it a ghastly mistake? Because the different spiritual influences that there are, for example, is the elements in a purer form. And obviously, like, dark sorcerers, they could use witchcraft and magic for a desired state for a desire, trying to reach a desired result, right? Because like I asked myself 1 month ago, witchcraft? What is magic? Like I asked myself that one month ago, and for some reason I had a smooth answer. And the last 24 hours, I just asked myself it again, and it was just kind of I came up with a more rigid answer for some reason. And the rigid answer, even though it's still quote unquote acceptable, it's not the one I was looking for within how it's up to me to see the game for what it is, and to see a whole different spiritual game, quote unquote, and to see how people in the material world, they don't necessarily recognize that there's a different game. They're just in one rat race of a game, right? Y'all get those frequencies in a different avenue, right? But so not to lose my train of thought is I just closed the window, so that's why I kind of like am like mind-gasming it or whatever, mind-splasming it or whatever. So pretty much what am I trying to say here is like people they didn't necessarily realize that there was a whole different game, right? And since they didn't realize they were just focused on one game, they were just hypnotized to think it's just a material game. We're going to sabotage so-and-so. We're going to make up a case, and we're going to file different paperwork in one limited, compartmentalized. Look up the word compartmentalized if you don't know what I'm talking about. They're gonna think the game is just in one compartmentalized material society structure when it's actually not, but they're hypnotized to think that it is, right? So since they're hypnotized to think that it is, they're putting all of their eggs in the basket on just that shit when they don't necessarily know that like that was a different experiment, right? That has reached its end according just to the basic timelines and yugas of life, right? Transitioning through different epochs of time. There has been a plateau point within that system. So what is witchcraft and magic? For some reason, 1 month ago, I had a more eloquent, elegant, original answer. But the rigid answer that I'm gonna give right now, it's pretty basic. I'm not really like, entirely like satisfied with this answer, because, and if I wrote it down somewhere else, who knows if I did? I don't think I wrote it down particularly, but like, what is witchcraft and magic? It's using the forces of nature to make a process with different types of quote unquote elements or symbols to recognize and realize a miracle, attain a certain state of being, or manifest or transition to a different desired result within, or just to transition and create some type of desired result, right? So within trying to create some type of desired result, we kind of get lost within the process of things, right? So since we get lost within the process of things, simultaneously within that process of things that's happening, there's also some type of warcraft going on in respects to the esoteric energy ambiance of it before the fucking titling of the game, right? Things that were already just are, right? That was happening. So within the fucking path of magic and witchcraft, within the rudimentary fucking level 5, level 2 Pikachu Pokemon, squirrel baby bullshit, within all of this, the Pokemon eventually grows up to recognize there's a war within the quote unquote, the different nuances of witchcraft, right? And in this casual definition of witchcraft, I'm just saying, like, what is witchcraft and magic? It's using the forces of nature. And what is a demon, right? It's some type of conscious sentience intelligence using shadow intelligence within a shadow organization to create some type of manifest material result and safeguard it or duel with it. So I just defined demon, and you could obviously, pivot within the context, original open source, beyond your AI on a different spiritual level, 5,000 years in the future, and all you copycat baby rapist fucking tech companies know it, metaphorically speaking. And it's up to me to bring the balanced international court of law on a real serious level, beyond all of the lower octave demonic apparition sectors of any organization, because that the niche polarities are there, right? The niche polarities of obsoleteness, of unknowingness, of laziness, right? Of you know, different fields of 7 deadly sins, or 7 deadly or 7 heavenly what do you call that, miracles, I guess you could say. There's a different word I'm looking for. So the opposite of a sin is some type of deed, right? So it's but not to get confused within the context of deed, or like the deed in this context being the opposite of a sin, right? So there's deeds that kind of balance out the sin activity of men and nature and society. So there's a deed activity. So within that deed activity, those deeds have to hide themselves, and then they have to re-arise themselves to maintain not just balance, but real-time reality homeostasis for you to fucking even breathe the fucking air, open your eyes, and have the ecosystem be in its own different type of stability for what it is. And that being a different, deep, primordial spiritual currency of how just things are. And then all of this shit is just kind of like a reflection remix of that shit. So what am I trying to say here is, like, what is the definition of a demon? It's some type of sentience, conscious intelligence, mind the context of the sentience, conscious intelligence, using shadow intelligence and recognize and how to manipulate light intelligence within most probably within a shadow organization, a niche shadow organization, studying light organizations so they could attain some type of material advantage, and that material advantage from that point to that point, not necessarily good or bad, but it could be. So I defined a demon here. Now I'm going to define magic and witchcraft, and I did it, and it's just a standard definition of magic and witchcraft. So what is magic and witchcraft? It's recognizing and seeing the different forces of nature, putting those forces of nature and recognizing your own rudimentary individual process within the process of the society, and astrology is just being a proxy to that, and recognizing that process to see within that process there's micro experiments, and all of this is just all of these things that are happening on Earth, they're all just nuanced micro experiments, right? Because we're still learning from the great beyond, so we can enhance and better our individual case and our individual project. And within that, let me finish the thought I was just saying, and I'm thinking of something else right now as well, is the spiritual work, we're shitting on that, but we need that. And what is witchcraft magic? It's just recognizing the forces of nature to see and putting that in a process, and within that process we're recognizing the different elements and symbols within, as we're trying to create and arrange a process within the forces of nature. And now we're trying to realize a state of being or a miracle. We're trying to become a certain state of being, or we're trying to transition that alchemical process to a desired state or a desired result based on whatever we're starting the process of magic or witchcraft as that is, right? And obviously that might be like it's a raw abstract definition, and hopefully I could re-answer that question in the future, right? Because regardless of what level practitioner you are, everybody is doing that. We're all doing that, right? Everything is magic, right? Everything is magic. For me to just wake up, for me to realize, for the soul to be in a physical body, it's some type of magic. But some people are more different level practitioners, and within that different level practitioners, they could be some type of shadow distortion practitioner, and then there could be a anti-shadow distortion practitioner, an original light practitioner, right? And then there could be a whole new cutting edge practitioner, right? So what am I trying to say here is like, so within me kind of like putting my focus since 2014 to just studying this shit and me doing my own humble, modest level of magic within my nature of air and wind, is I put my knowledge and focus on studying quote unquote everything in humble modesty, right? And within me trying to study everything, I had to process that and just observe on one level. And within me observing, people were hypnotized. They hypnotized themselves that they were so caught up in their own narc subjectivity that they didn't know what they were doing within the greater picture. They were just doing what they were conditioned to do on a demonic conditioning. They were convinced to do something based on lower octave natures from a lower octave society because their perception and perspective was trained to live like that. They were convinced that it's just a dog world where, yeah, in one sense within a certain time age it was, but they're not peeping a particular transition, right? So the thing is, it's like there's a lot of low-key patience that has to be done with all of this. And what do I mean by that? There's a lot of low-key patience that we're not going to like get our desired result overnight. So for me to professionally put that disclaimer of you know, how going on this quote unquote energy path or whatever, and to put a particular disclaimer of saying shit won't happen overnight, that's me saving your face. That's me saving your frustration. That's me saving your mental fog, not because I want to or have to, because I want this, the courtesy I expect others to give me, I give that to others so it could come back to me perhaps, but I'm not expecting that because I realize this is a demonic world. Because in 2015, I already realized that the greed was already over apparent. And from that greed, certain demonic spirits, I already defined demon, certain demonic spirits are acting on that greed. They're acting on different quote unquote 7 deadly sins, and they're ignoring the counter sin, right? They're ignoring the deed of God. And there's probably a different word I want to like conjure up or whatever, and conjure, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, you know? But there's a different word I want to conjure up of what's a word that's the opposite of sin. But for now, I'm just using deed. So, and obviously the word deed, it's different contexts, right? Deed, a miracle support system. Deed, someone filing a document to fucking do some paperwork so they can entrap you with paperwork and they can try to own you and then try to fucking fuck you after the paperwork, right? This is like all of this fucking knowledge that y'all have in 2025, it's baby shit to me because I've been studying this shit before 2014 quality wise. And within that, I've seen the game, I've seen the mannerisms, I've seen the fucking behaviors, I've seen the demonic psychologies, I've seen the torture psychologies, I've seen the tortured souls, I've seen the beings who want you to be miserable because they're lacking something that they don't have. And since they don't have that, they're going to extreme lengths to sabotage what they don't have. And they're going to use the dark system or the past old distorted system. And they're going to think it's going to go to their favor by neglecting a whole different, bigger spiritual law field and a different material balance of how that could be negated because it's falsified. The psychology is overridden with manipulation, and different spiritual works need to be preserved. What do I mean by different spiritual works need to be preserved? It needs to be preserved because it's a need for distortion and destruction it's a need for that shit to be balanced. So for all the fucking retarded, hypnotic, distorted sorcerers and magicians out there that think that their shit's gonna work, and trust me, I know, like people wouldn't think I knew. But like I know how like other shit works, right? Like I know like there's a subconscious counter to that shit for a reason. So the fucking comfort that everybody yearns for could be sustained because that's what the fucking majority in the spiritual world prefers. Duh, you dumb motherfucking retarded bitch fucks. Why do I say it like that? Because you're trying to fucking sabotage what you need. So that's why it's not going to work in the new age. And I am the original trendsetter. And for other people to fucking lean on just fucking doing demonic, distorted, intelligent thing, like, oh, I'm going to fucking chop you up, I'm going to cut this off. Like, do that. Try doing that. Like, and see how the fucking spiritual world responds. Like this is God's algorithm. Is all the suffering justified? Maybe some people that are suffering right now, they were famous. They were the Jenny in the past life. And now the Jenny in the past life is reincarnated to a fucking, someone getting fucking just, whatever. And that's just a rough example. It's not directly exactly that. I'm just saying that was just a metaphorical example. It's like you sold out all of your soul. It sounds kind of retarded. You sold out your original source energy so you could fucking have just material energy, and the material energy is indicative off the source energy. So you just kind of like soldiers, you took an easy cheated path, and it's not what you do, it's how you do it, and only God can save you, and only the pure original beings can save you. So it's like, who's the bitch now, right? Energetically, metaphorically speaking, right? And I don't give a fuck about any of this petty ass, oh, I don't respect you anymore. Bitch, I don't give a fuck about that shit. I'm on a whole different spiritual mission, motherfucker. And that spiritual work that I've been doing since Quality 2014 is the reason why you have a leaning leverage for you to even feel some type of fucking comfort to begin with. So if you shit on me, may God fucking, give it back to you however it needs to be given back, right? So so to touch up on a different point is like maybe the suffering is justified because it's a universal complex computer system, right? So if it's a universal complex computer system and the universe is itty bitty billion, big titty billion times big titty tiggle toggle biggle boggle, big titty billion times bigger than the earth, then maybe the suffering is justified because there's a bigger universal system that's compensating and doing the checks and balances of, are you passing a test of an unseen test of balance or not? And if you're not passing the test, and metaphorical, you could do the metaphor of the production manufacturing factory outlets, right? Or whatever. Is this gonna pass the inspection or not? The universe is doing that with these fucking demonic ass, baby ass, complaining ass, fucking hypocritical humans. No matter what their fucking status is, no matter how the fuck they've fucking sold out, no matter whatever they're fucking bitching at, regardless of all the fucking riches they have, there's a check and balance system from a pure universe that's happening. And I'm just neutrally fucking saying it for a different neutral preservation system because it's my job. Because it's like, because a bigger majority complex of spiritual residents are needing that, wanting that, and voting for that. And now that's going to be funneled into the new timeline. Who knows when the fuck when, but that's going to happen in the future of the timeline. So this is the best number one intelligence. And for people like fucking, for the tech CEOs to just attempt to baby rape that shit, metaphorically speaking, and then to fucking just convince themselves that they're doing what they're doing is right and good and just, and we're gonna save the world, and we're fucking innovative breakthroughs, but we're fucking cheating behind the scenes, and we're saying we're all about fucking C++, and we're all about fucking HTML rules, dude, and we're all about fucking, tech and all of that shit, and we're all about fucking cutting edge revolutionary data analytics. Yeah, we can't be honest as shit to fucking save our left fucking fill in the blank. So it's like there's a particular nuanced context of a hypocrisy, and if we can't see that nuanced take of hypocrisy, what the fuck is the hype of the AI even for? AI could do this, but it's not doing it. It's not doing honest analytics. And energetically, universally, it is most respectively on a different context, on a different higher dimensional way of life. It is beyond China 2025 because we're coming from a different perspective of, can you bring honest data analytics internationally, or for some reason are you just lost in some baby bullshit rhetoric of it, right? So since you're lost in some type of baby bullshit rhetoric of it, you're missing, like, what's the point of that shit? The point of it is now the advanced spiritual intelligence could see you're just doing it for a demonic intention, a demonic agenda, a demonic manipulation tactic, and that being synonymous with some type of distortion, but it doesn't have to be. And we could see how you're doing it, and we could see how that's compartmentalized, convoluted, and distortedly fragmented as is. And that's why your AI won't win the race, because you're hypocritical and you're blind to a real honesty. And since you're blind to that real honesty, that's going to have some type of context bifurcation disruption where you're saying you're about that, but you're not, right? So since you're saying you're about that and you're not, and shout out to the car I bought, the last car I bought it at, I bought it in Los Gatos. I bought it from this Iranian guy, just generally saying it. And I guess, maybe there was just something mishyped about it, right? Bought it for 13, bought a GMC Suburban. And, I guess, I took it around, the local area that I was at, the county, right, that I was in. And, people got word within somehow. Some people have leverage. People think they're going to win something because of their demonic leverage. They're passing around surveillance. They're spying on you, right? The people within the demonic hierarchy coming up, they have access to get certain surveillance, use that surveillance data to possibly see what you're about, and then they're going to sabotage what you have based on demonic leverage, right? So the main point of this rant video is I see the greed, I see the manipulation, and I see the fucking falsified paperwork, and I see the lack, and I see the clinging lack of the, the law enforcement industry. I see the niche polarities within that. And what do I mean by niche polarities? Yeah, you're all trying to get information, right? But my fucking information is timeless balance, motherfucker. And I'm going to fucking do what the founding fathers wanted us to do within however they fucking started that, within whyever they wanted to fucking have America to have a freedom of speech. Because this is the last fucking hope of balance within the experiment of differentiation of distortion. What does that mean? Experimentation of differentiation of distortion. There's various different group projects with an experiment, and the experiment could have flopped within a society, right? A tribes versus tribes. They could have flopped within the old game mechanics of how it's like within the old timeline. It is within one time frequency realm. It is a dog eat dog world, right? And who knows how long that will last for? And it will only last based on how we're ignoring the balance. And if we're ignoring the balance, then you're voting for that shit because you're some type of not good, not bad. You're some type of context, subjective demon, no condescending within the advanced esoteric intelligence of it, right? So we're some type of not good, not bad, not trying to condescend you. Mind the context. We are some type of demonic creature. But within the demonic creature that we are, the daemon that we are, the diamond body that we are we leaning towards distorted self and distorted organizations or not? I'm like, this is number one intelligence. And if you want to shit on the spiritual work that is the foundation to all of this shit, then you have fun with your demonic fucking punk ass, because I could fucking, I see your petty ass shit. Your petty, I see your petty ass baby tactics. They don't do shit to me, on an energetic level. But y'all could attempt, and ironically, if you want to try to quote unquote call the cops to a dying demonic justice and law system, they will fucking take you under too. But the thing is, going towards the future, it's not just demonic law and justice system only. Demonic law and justice system is being updated by something more and more pure, perhaps, if we're voting for it, and something more and more balanced, perhaps, if we're voting for it, right? So it's a perhaps thing, original open source, right? So it's like your tactics are destructive. Your tactics are self-undoing. Your tactics are esoteric kindergarten. You're a baby to me on some other on higher dimensions. So within that, stop biting the hand that feeds you. But you could, motherfucker. You could fucking try to fucking respond to me with that petty baby ass bullshit. Like, I don't give a fuck. But the thing is, it's like the particular transition that we're going towards is there's like a particular energetic reset in how, quote unquote, God and the pure spiritual system is like letting the demonic system still have a time to fucking die out, right? It's like a whole different complex experiment, right? It's like we're seeing what the fuck is gonna happen. What are their moves that they're gonna make, right? God sees all that baby bullshit, right? So I've known about all of this shit since 2015, motherfuckers. Beyond all you CEOs, because you're scared to follow up a particular query. You're and since you're scared, you're gonna fucking assume and convince yourself and lie to yourself and confuse yourself of some false fucking chisme that doesn't exist, a false lie that doesn't exist, false narratives that doesn't exist, because that's your fucking demonic source of energy, because you ain't shit energetically unless you're with God, and God is neutrally here, so I guess you kind of are to some percent, right? Because it's just esoteric science, right? So within saying all of that motherfucking shit, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say there is within the law and justice system, there's different polarities within how it's distorted and how it's demonic, but yet they have a chance to overturn their demonic selves because they need energy just like the rest of everybody else, right, Trump? Neutrally saying it. So within saying that, they're gonna fucking follow trends, not good, not bad, to try to sustain and survive, basically, right? So within trying to sustain and survive, they have a choice to keep subscribing to a particular type of distortion / demonic approach, and all demonic stuff isn't bad, but if the demonic stuff energetically points to distortion, then that is bad energetically. They have a choice to work with distorted to demonic stuff, to balance stuff to like some type of higher pure stuff, and they're subjectively caught up within all that stuff, and they have a new choice to see how the society has leaned into some type of demonic distortion and how that is flailing. FLAILING. It's flailing, right? So within it flailing, that's the rough, harsh experiment of life, right? Oh, you got a shoulder. So within that being the harsh experiment of life, it's like people are hypnotized that they're thinking that the demonic world is the end all be all, because that's the time segment, original open source, 2014 and 2017. That's the conditioning that they've received from whenever they were fucking born, 1920s, 1880s, right? 1700s. That was an interesting time, right? Because even in the 1700s, in an energetic scientific perspective point of view, us being in a Kali Yuga, right? We're within the Kali Yuga, and obviously correct the facts within this, within us being in the, and screw the confused part of the tech world, right? For them to shadow ban me and just use my good stuff and overwrite that. But that's the main point. There's a small percentage of pure goodness within the 1700 in the Dark Ages, from however the Kali Yuga lasted, from the present time to, like, I guess 6,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, 18,000 years ago, around that ballpark, there was a focused dark age. And within that focused dark age, the pure goodness was very, very minutialized. What does minutialized mean? Small percentialized, to a point where it's not even evident. It's the rarest of the rare. And that good, pure goodness in the 1700s, it started to leak out within the humans and the society to the present moment in 2025, to therefore have a different energetic chance and hope of pure goodness and balance to resurrect and overcome distortion, right? So what am I really trying to say to bring some grounds here is there's a small percentage of quote unquote energetic purity. What does that mean? That energetic purity is something that is energetically good and positive, that is the good for all of society, for society to beneficially keep moving forward. And that small percentage is the reason why justice could have an anomaly rare percentage, and this goes beyond all the distorted races or non-distorted races. I don't give a fuck about any of that fucking distorted baby shit. Like, anybody trying to hate on me, like, you really don't know shit, motherfucker. Like, for real. So, start with the modesty path. Start there. Like, modest yourself, motherfuckers. So within that pure goodness of benefit, that has increased over time. So since it's increased, and this is all raw and rough, right? So since that has increased over time, it has kind of like more or less, it has a certain type of exponentiality, right? Original, open source, whatever. And within that, it has a unique pure snowball effect where we can have more of a chance to work with that pure energy so we could get a real type of fucking pure justice despite any of the family archetypes of how, or the family life systems of how within the family life systems, someone could be cheated in the family and they could be experiencing energetically just injustice, because that pure spark since the 1700s and the 1800s, late and early mid, of the pure beneficial energy of spirit, it's actually increasing slowly but surely. And what does that pure energy of balance do? It's bringing a particular type of justice, collective justice, to be a real possibility, so your injustices can actually be corrected beyond your fucking fake ass fabricated butthole beezy ass fucking tech firm and organization. It's a real fucking tangible justice system of real original truth and honesty to counteract the injustice. That's what's fucking happening. That's why energetically on the original spiritual intelligence is beyond all tech companies and CEOs. And they're fucking scaredy cat, whiny cat, baby ass, beezy ass motherfuckers, because they can't respond to the real, original, real. All they could do is take and metaphorically baby rape and be convinced and confused and hypnotized. And I'm not even trying to do what you think I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be literally beyond all this shit. Or not like that, but like or with God, you know. So there's a particular type of conditioning that's happening, and they're stuck in that conditioning, and the society within the percentages of the demonic world, they're working with that and they're reciprocating with that, so they themselves could be a context demon. And those context demons, the main war of the context demon, whether they know it or not, is the pure balanced justice system, because they're just jealous of that pure balanced justice system because they're not getting their way with that. Their narc manipulation tactics is not getting their way with the pure balanced justice system. So this is beyond God shit. This is beyond your fucking God tool. This is beyond your fucking cowardice. This is beyond you're too afraid to do some real shit. Here, let me be the real fucking inspiration of this motherfucking shit and the real original possibility beyond for this shit. So you could even astral project and open your fucking third eye to begin with. It takes an original fucking wind for you to fucking astral project and open your fucking third eye. Original balance, energy of air, intellect, wind for you to even fucking do that shit. So any of one of my fucking haters, you're retarded. I don't give a fuck about your status. So within saying all of this fucking shit, it's like you have the opportunity to work with truthful and honesty, a different type of spiritual work or not. And if you don't, then you reap what you sow in the future. God's algorithm, the suffering is justified. No more complaining. No more bitching.